Hi everybody. I wanted to record this video, I hope it won't be too long, but to lay out some of the information that I have available to me to get you guys thinking more about what we want to do with our shows next year and be prepared when we get together on November 11th. So here we go. The first thing I want you guys to think about and what we really need to decide on November 11th is the dates and locations of our shows, the number of judges per show, if they're 1 or 2 day, if we want them to be open all breed or POA only, and we're going to have to work through at least a couple of the actual class lists. This next season we're going to be starting our shows at the end of March, and I need to get that approval into the national office by December 5th, and that's where some of the time comes about. If we have time, we can get started about talking about show awards, year-end awards, running the actual show, some of those other details. However, those don't have the time frame on them right now that we have in the other area. So I have prepared a few thoughts to drive those first few topics that I want you guys to take a look at, start thinking about, and we'll make some decisions on November 11th. The first thing I want to go over really quick is the result of the survey that I threw out earlier this year. We had 19 responses to the survey, and here is a high-level summary. My intent of the survey was to get some masses of the voices of our entire club and to use those to consider where we're going in 2018. And I want to say that I think we're pretty lucky because I think our club in general has a very consistent direction on where they'd like to see it go. First of all, our strongly prefers to have 5 or less shows, with the next being in that 6 to 8. So I think if we stay in that 5 to 6 range, we will be hitting the vast majority of our club. The next, our club as a whole really likes either having 2 to 3 judges or maxing them out. So I think there's a consistency there to let's go ahead and use the judges that we can use on the weekends and have fewer weekends to go show. The next response looks at when do people actually want to show, and our largest grouping is in that April to September range, with March and October not too far out of the range. So starting in late March, going into September is what our year probably looks like. Seems to meet the masses of those who responded as well. The next question really tried to get at what kind of classes do we want to offer at our shows. And at least in my mind, I start with our show basic to be halter showmanship, English ec and pleasure, Western ec and pleasure. Beyond that, what else do we want to offer? Because the options are pretty broad. The highest 3 responses for always offer are trail, ranch riding, and lunge line. The highest 3 responses for sometimes offer was Western riding, jumping, and reining. So you can see the actual counts based on those 19 responses that I got back, and we can use that information as we plan our class lists. The next 3 questions that were asked actually had a little bit more dynamics about the show. Majority of our club really likes the 2-day shows, being able to have the time to offer lots of more classes but not have them so packed in such long days. The preference was a mix of both IBCs and B&Ps, so let's consider our facilities, our timing of our shows, and how we want to work that in. And the gaming classes majority were 5, with a few liking the 6 and 7 as an option as well. If we look at priorities in our shows, quality of year-end awards, quality of show awards, quality of facility, number of judges, and low cost of shows were the top 5, and actually the only ones that got any votes, with low cost of shows and quality of year-end being at the top, and the other 3 coming not far behind those. Now let's take a minute to make sure everybody understands the points and the types of shows that our state club is able to produce. The different types of shows have potentially different point scales that are awarded. One thing that's common across all shows is last place always gets the lowest amount of points within that point scale. So let's look at an example of what that really means. For a breed and promotion show, this is the B&Ps that we typically produce as a POA only show. The point scale is from 18 to 13 with 6 placings in a full class. So if you happen to have 6 riders in a class, you would place them 1 through 6, first place getting 18 points, second getting 17, down to 6th place getting 13. Well, what happens if we only have 3 riders in a class? It would be placed first through third. First place would get 15 points, second 14, and third getting 13, where last place always gets the lowest point value within that range. However, if we have some larger classes, that point starts changing. So if you have a halter class larger than 10 horses or a performance class larger than 14 entries, the bonus points start popping in. What you see on your screen is a truncated list, as we typically don't have classes over 20 entries. But as the classes do get larger, there is a larger amount of bonus points offered. We've been using the same scale of show type, calculation, and bonus points in our year-end awards as well. So we're going to go show through show to look at both the point scale and the class requirements for the different shows we can offer really quickly in this video, and we can talk about it. Why is this important? Because as we look at year-end awards, national awards, even the overall high points for the show, the class size starts having a big impact on your ability to pull points together. 10 to 13 this year was our largest class size. Those girls that did everything in 10 to 13 are really hard to beat by any other division, just because they often had 4, 5, 6 riders in the class, where our 9 and unders had 2 or 3, our 14 to 18s had 2, and it's just hard with the number of classes to make up that point total. Our halter classes is another place to consider this as well. There's only so much consolidation we can do, but we have an opportunity of potentially our last place horse still getting the minimum points, just like they would if they were only pony in the class, but maybe if we consolidate some more, some of our upper placings will end up getting some more points. So let's look at our different show types. The first one I want to look at is the B&Ps, which is our breed and promotion POA only shows that we typically offer, or the IBCs, the interbreed competition, which are all breed open shows. And these are the shows that we typically offer at the state level. They give us the most points, and that's why we've been using them up first. Each state can hold a combination of 10 B&Ps or IBCs, plus the regional club can host 2 additional B&Ps over a year. So let's take a minute and look at the minimal class requirements that are required for a B&P. You must have at least 12 halter classes with junior and senior grand for stallion, mares, and geldings. You have to have at least 10 performance classes and at least 5 gaming classes. 6 placings for a full class. What about IBCs? Slightly different requirements. Must have at least 5 19 and over classes. All classes are offered with all breeds competing together. And the classes can be split by age of the rider or by height of the animal and halter. We also place 6 placings in a full class. So the point scale for a B&P or an IBC is 3 points for grand champion, 2 points for reserve grand champion. Junior senior champions get 1 point. Reserve junior senior champions get 0 points. And then the rest of the classes have a point scale of 18 points for first down to 13 points for sixth. We also have the option to offer Class A or Ponyrama shows. These are both POA only as well. Now we can hold as many Class A shows as we want. There is no maximum. We can hold up to 6 Ponyramas, which are basically double judged POA shows. Now, there's been some rule changes over about the last 5 years, which makes that limitation not make sense anymore. Because there's also rules out there that say that we can have up to 3 judges on a normal weekend, up to 4 judges on a holiday weekend. So technically at this point, we could offer as many triple judged on normal weekends, 4 judged on holiday weekends, Class A shows as we want to, with absolutely no limit. So let's look a little bit more of what the Class A and Ponyrama's limitations are. We have the 12 class requirement for halter, 10 performance, 5 gamings, and you still play 6 places. What's different in these shows is the point scale, and that's why we haven't dipped into them yet. Grand, Reserve Grand, Junior, Senior Champion is the same of 3, 2, and 1 points, with no points going to your Reserve, Junior, Senior Champion. The difference is in your classes. So instead of being a 13 to 18 point scale, it's now a 7 to 12. That's why we've always gone through those 10 judges first of the IBCs and the BNPs and not tapped into these. However, if a group of us ever wanted to get some more points pulled together for national points for year-end, well, not, we'd have to talk about the states because not all of our members care about national points, but more national points, more national year-end points, more ROM points. We could always put on as many of these as we wanted to help make that happen. So the other show type that we have is the regional shows. The regional shows are our highest point total up here in the Northwest, and we're allowed to have 1 regional show per year. The hosting of that regional show rotates through the states. Currently, Washington and Oregon are the only active states in the Northwest. Idaho and Montana are dormant at this point, although there are a couple members still in play. Historically, both Washington and Oregon have counted the regional show and the year-end points because that really drives our members to go and drives a financially feasible regional show. Oregon will be hosting the show this year. There's quite a few requirements for the classes that must take place at the regional level, and you can see that in Rule 62G in the rule book, but the point scale is quite a bit higher. Grands get 4 points, Reserve Grands 3 points, Junior Senior Champions 2 points, Junior Senior Reserve Champions 1 point, and then the classes are placed through 8th with 24 points for first, 17 points for 8th, with the last place in any class getting that minimum point total. You can go ahead and take a look at the Classics, the Congress, and some of the other shows. I believe our World Show follows the Classic point scale in the rule book if you're interested. So I have put together this summary of the shows that we can offer, and I will have a printout of this when we get together on November 11th for everybody's reference. But it'll be a starting point for what shows types we want to offer, what are those minimal class requirements, and how does that impact both local points and national points. So after we talk through what kind of shows we want to put on, the classes we want to offer, we need to identify dates, locations, and duration of the shows. I'll have this printed out and available as well. But basically what I've been able to do is look at availability and also map up the other events around us that we need to consider as we're scheduling. So the tan highlighted areas here are national POA events that we definitely don't want to schedule over or too close to. The yellow highlighted items in March, April, and May are available dates at the Ethel Arena. Now Ethel is $400 a day for the indoor arena, and then if weather allows, we can rent the outdoor arena for $50 an hour when we actually use it. We had some conversations with a group of us about July and how hard that is for those that will do Congress. Basically, last time I went, I got back home on a Monday, and that following Thursday, 3 days later, I was hauling equipment to Silver Buckle to set up that show. It's hard on people, it's hard on ponies. So floated the idea of potentially doing Silver Buckle show in June, which is a very profitable show for us. The challenge might be with June at Silver Buckle, the hayfield may not be down yet. and that is a big part of our parking. So let's talk through that as well. I did reach out to Elma, and they do have some dates available. I'll bring that information with me. Arena rental there is a little higher than the other places. It is $11.25 for a 2-day show. That's $4.50 a day for the arena plus half that cost for the move-in day. I also have on here and highlighted in blue is the POA events, the Oregon POA events. I'm sorry. I do have some of the holidays on there. Some of the text feedback from the survey was a preference by many of our members to try and stay away from holidays just due to the family commitments. And then also in August, we were brainstorming as a Northwest Region Club, potentially using Lee's offer of her arena for a smaller 1-day show and then use all that money towards regional expense. Note that regionals have been moved into early September to take away the conflict of Oregon State Fair for the Oregon kids. They chose not to put it on a holiday weekend, but move it into very early September. So that's information we will have to talk through and work through. Okay, let's talk about a couple different impacts on what's going to drive potentially some of our decisions around the other schedule. I had some questions about what can we do about halter classes. We rarely have very many stallions. Our junior horses are there but pretty light, so how do we streamline that appropriately? And the big challenge honestly comes there for judges. We hand them 30-some judges cards for all the halter classes we have, and we typically have horses in maybe a third of those. So it's not uncommon for judges to get off scope, end up off on a card, having to do some corrections, stuff we can manage if that's what we want to do, but it does create a challenge. I think the second impact comes into play. Those one-horse classes, although if our judges are quick, they can go pretty quick, but they do add to time of the day. My bigger concern is we might be able to be a little bit smarter about our class list that honestly gives our ponies, at least some of them, more points without hurting other ponies by getting them no points. So on the screen I have our halter classes. You can see to the right, Rule 92, those are the classes that we can offer. Now at the bottom you can see there's a note that we can combine them to yearling and younger, 2 years and younger, or 3 and over. So the most consolidated we could do is 2 years and under, stallion, mare, and gelding, junior champion, and then do 3 and over with the height splits. We still need to do our height splits, senior champion and grand champion. Let's talk about if we want to just do yearling and younger for everybody or go ahead and do 2 and under. I think we can probably do 2 and under for stallions pretty easy. Another place to consider some of our combinations is potentially in the lunge line in-hand trail. And, my thoughts around that is we did talk about it last year. There was a potential of having more than 6 yearlings and 2-year-olds in those classes. And you get over 6 and somebody's not going to get points. And I don't think there's the value in splitting it up to potentially keep someone from getting points. But we never had a show with more than 6 yearlings and 2-year-olds in either lunge line or in-hand trail. So if you think back to how I presented the points, if I'm the only horse in, let's say, 2-year-old in-hand trail, I get 13 points. But if you combined me with the 4 yearlings in yearling in-hand trail, we now have a 5-horse class. So even if I'm last place, I still get 13 points. But if I happen to place a little bit higher, I'm actually getting a few more. So I think there's some opportunities to help our members get the points that they may want for national year-end, for ROMs, or even for our local year-end, but not hurt our members as well. So let's talk about those options and opportunities. The only thing else I wanted to bring up on this topic was Rule 51, and I don't think that'll be an issue. There is a rule in there that says if we offer a 19 over class, we have to offer the corresponding youth class. And basically this is keeping us true to the vision of POA, that it's a youth-driven organization that's also family-friendly. So we don't want to create shows that are primarily 19 and over shows and cut out the youth classes. Now let's take a few minutes to talk about the new divisions within POAC. So these were voted in the end of 2017. They'll start in 18. I did have a conversation with Diane Peaton yesterday, and she is going to send me the actual versions that were voted on and approved by the board at the fraternity in October. This is my best recollection at the moment of what they are. So there's a new walk trot division that has replaced the POA novice division. We have the opportunity to run it as walk trot all ages or split it in an 18 and under and a 19 and over fashion. Basically, this is a novice rider division. So the criteria is you can enter this class if you, the rider, has not loped in any classes this year. You can choose to lope and disqualify yourself as a walk trotter this year, but you can redeclare yourself as a walk trotter next year at the beginning of the year. So this is a declaration year by year. You cannot walk trot one pony in this division and walk trot lope another pony in another division. This is a rider declaration, not a pony declaration. The other new division out there is the non-pro division. And this is where what I thought I knew, or at least what I thought I understood the division to be, is not what Diane explained to me. So I'm looking forward to getting the information from her. What I do know is you must apply and buy your non-pro card from POAC to qualify for this division. One question I did ask her is if we were running an IBC, would this become a POA only class, or could we accept other forms of confirmation of non-pros, like a card for another breed? And she thought that was okay, but I want to see the actual approved proposal to take a look at that. The other thing is a lot of our open riders don't ride any breed, so they wouldn't formally have a non-pro from anyone, so we'll have to figure out what we want to do there. My other thought is maybe we run this as a quote-unquote side pot to the 19 and over class that allows our POA riders to register for it, ride in the 19 and over, and then place it, basically pull those out and place the class separately based on how they fell in the overall 19 and over. Couple thoughts, definitely not a conclusion. My original understanding, this is another place where I need some clarification by the documents, was this was a Western pleasure, hunter under saddle and trail only. Diane mentioned that she believed what passed also included Western horsemanship and hunt seat act. So we'll have to clarify what classes are actually there. I do know that they're offering both walk trot and walk trot canter versions available. The one thing that hung this up from getting approved for a while was the designation. So one of the foundations of POA is we only allow our youth to compete towards one overall high point. And so if you're riding novice, you couldn't also ride your age division. If you're riding 6 and under, you couldn't always also compete in the same classes and compete for an overall 9 and under. So there was some designation to where if you're riding for a one pony rider high point, you can't also be riding for the multi pony. There was an addition late that drove to actually getting approval that the non-pro must also designate for which high point, 19 over or the non-pro, that they'll be competing for. So I hope and plan to have those details by the time we actually get together and meet. A few other things I think we want to keep in mind as we lay out our class schedules are the following. First of all, this is not important to everybody, but a lot of the breeders and trainers and more solid breed show competitors, ROMs become important. And I do believe that as for a breed, it does make our ponies more valuable. So there's this is a quick table, and I'll probably bring this in a printout as well, but you can get a non-timed register of merit or a timed or halter based off of points, and a certain percentage of those have to come from regional hire, and in halter you have to get some grands and or reserve grands. There's specific event ROMs, and then those start rolling up together. So if you have a non-timed and a timed and a certain number of halter points, your pony can be a champion. And if you can get your non-timed, your timed, and your halter, you can become a supreme champion. There's some slightly different requirements for lunge line and in-hand trail ROMs, just because those ponies only have a couple years to try and get that, and an overall youth one on their equitation classes. So as we look at the classes we offer, I think we also need to consider our membership and which of these type of awards are potentially valuable to them and help them get to those. Another thing I want to highlight quickly is the National Year-End Awards. Now, when I first came into POA, I remember asking some questions by some of the leadership in the Oregon POA of how in the heck are people going to 30 and 40 shows? Is that what that really means? And it is. They're getting under 30 to 40 judges. And I was told at that time that people from the Northwest had no opportunity to get in the national standings because we just don't have the opportunity to go enough shows. Well, so I popped in there and wanted to take a look at where we're sitting. As of October 13th, here's where our Washington members sitting in the national standings. Aubrey sitting 5th in Hunt Seat Act 9 and under and 5th in Horsemanship 9 and under girls. Emily Midwood 4th Hunt Seat Act 10 to 13 girls. Streak, my yearling colt, 4th in yearling colts. Surrey, my 2-year-old filly, is 5th in 2-year-old mares, 4th in 2-year-old lunge line, 4th in most colorful, 3rd in hunter and hand adult, 4th in 2-year-old in hand trail. Impulsive Rock Stars of Zeniths is sitting 2nd in 3-year-old mares. Dreamer sitting 2nd in small mares and 1st in youth and adult driving. CR Crimson Kid, Lee and Peggy's colt, is sitting 2nd in yearling and younger geldings. We have RY Lopin for Diamonds of Peggy Nykertz is sitting 6th in 2-year-old geldings. Little Romeo is sitting in medium geldings, winning the youth ranch riding. In the standings for top 10 pony and 5th for gaming pony 9 and under. Rocky Top Notch is placing in medium geldings and winning the adult ranch riding. Red Solo Cup of Dowds is in the ranch riding, top 10 pony and gaming pony for 10 to 13 standings. JPR I'm a Fine Kid's Dream of Karen Phelps is in the ranch riding, youth, and the top 10 pony standings. And KS is Jammin' Anna Redbuck, sitting 6th in the hunter in hand youth for the Zeniths. How did we do that? That's quite a few Washington State members in National Year-End Standings. We did that because we offered hunter in hand regularly. We offered ranch riding regularly. Those pony standings, we've got 3 ponies. I know they call it top 10, but they do award the top 15. We have 3 of our ponies sitting in the top 15 in the nation for overall pony points. That's pretty good. And Aubrey went to Rocky Mountain Regionals and World West, but Karen and Kylie didn't. How are they able to be in the top 15 of the nation? Well, you know what? We offered jumping regularly. We offered 7 gaming classes. We offered enough pony classes that they were able to catch up in 16, 17, 18 shows to those kids that go to 25, 30, or even 40. And we had multi-judge shows at reasonable fees. So this and everything more, including everybody's personal desires, we need to accumulate into a plan for 2018. So sorry this went so long. I was hoping to do it faster, but there's a lot of information here, and hopefully that will help get you noodling on a few things on what's important to you, and we'll figure out where we're going with 18. So let me know if you have any questions, and we'll see you here in a couple weeks. Bye, guys.